This is a Fox News Alert. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. This special edition of Special Report, I just got back from New York, sitting down with the GOP's presumptive nominee, Donald Trump. This happened before the House Speaker Paul Ryan said late this afternoon that he could not yet support Donald Trump. Take a listen. Well, congrats, first of all.
Thank you.
We haven't sat for an interview in about 6 months, but I don't think you've had a hard time getting on.
No, we've had no trouble getting on television. That's the good news. But it's been a great period of time, and Indiana was so overwhelming. It was such a great experience for me, and amazing. And Bobby Knight helped. There's no question about that. But we won. That was a big election for me.
I want to talk about clear up some things, and then talk about kind of general election themes going forward. First of all, the scuttlebutt obviously is who you're going to pick as VP. Everybody's asking you about it, and I heard you say over the past 24 hours that it's going to probably be a person with political experience, somebody that can work with the Senate and the House. Current or former?
Well, I'd say, perhaps current, could be former, but I think somebody with political experience that really has a close relationship with the Senate, with Congress, with where they go in and help so we don't have to sign executive orders like President Obama does every hour. It would be nice to actually get something passed as opposed to just saying, we're signing it anyway. And I think, we have some people that are very good candidates. I'm looking at some wonderful people. Some were on the stage with me and some are not.
I mean, there's a report out that you were down to Nikki Haley and Susana Martinez.
No, not Nikki Haley. No, Nikki Haley, no. She wasn't under consideration. Isn't really. She's very fine, but she's not under consideration. But I'm looking at a lot. I'm looking at quite a few. And you had conversations with Marco Rubio recently, several of them. We've had really nice conversations. Not necessarily about that, just that we had, we always had a very good relationship, Brett, Marco and I. And then it got a little bit nasty for a period of time. And then we had the election, and, that was a tough period of time for Marco. Marco's a good guy, a really nice guy, and I like him, but not necessarily with respect to any position. But it could happen.
Do you think you'd say yes if you asked him?
Well, not necessarily to that one, but even that one. But I've had a really good relationship with him for a long period of time. We had a little rough period for about a month.
Little. That's a good word.
A little bit rough. But you tend to forget that. You tend to forget it. Especially if you win, you tend to forget it. But Marco has been very supportive, very good, and he said very nice things.
Well, speaking of that, you have Dr. Ben Carson heading up your vice presidential selection committee.
I do, and somebody who I have a lot of respect for, a great guy, just a great guy. I've gotten to really know him much more so. He called up and he wanted to be part of the team a long time ago. He's been with me a long time, and goes out and makes speeches. Everybody loves him.
That's a lot of trust to put somebody in charge of that committee.
He's going to be, looking and recommending, and I'd like to have him a part later on too of something. So we'll see what happens. But Ben has been terrific. Chris Christie's been terrific. Many people have been great. Many people behind the scenes that people would be shocked. I think my biggest surprise is some of the people that speak so badly about me on television over the last 2 or 3 months are calling. Consistently calling, and they're saying, would like to be a part of the team. And one of them recently, I said, let me ask you a question. How can you possibly say good things about me after what you said? He said, oh, don't worry, that's no problem, because they're politicians, right? They can say whatever they want. So we're going to have a lot of people come on. A lot of people are supporting, and you saw even yesterday all the names that have announced that they're supportive.
Yeah, you touched on it. I mean, people look at what you've said and what they've said on the campaign trail about different people, and now you're kind of past all of that.
Well, it's competition.
Carson. This is a guy who's heading up your VP committee. You called him pathological at one point.
Well, no, I didn't call him that.
No, he said that.
No, I just repeated his book.
You said, I don't want a person that's got pathological disease. I don't want it.
I talked about his book. Yeah. And he talked about his book. And he doesn't, because if you really read that statement, read what he is, I think it's pretty understandable when you read the book. But he is really a fine person. He's just a person I've gotten to like.
I want to clear up this controversy that you've been asked about a couple days in a row now, where the last day in Indiana you bring up Senator Cruz's father and Lee Harvey Oswald. Are you aware of any single piece of evidence that backs up the claims that you talked about?
Well, let me just tell you how it started. His father said some really terrible things about me and said pray, you know, in a very bad sense about me, like nobody's ever said anything like that.
So you swung
and
back.
he said it to him, and it was on tape. And your friends at Fox and Friends played it, and Steve and Brian, the group, they played it. And I must tell you, I was shocked to see it. I didn't see it until then. And they say, what do you have to say? I said, I think it's a very nasty thing. It was a very nasty thing to say. So it wasn't just, didn't come out of nowhere.
Sure.
And I had seen a week before, actually all over the place, but there was a picture of the father, who seems like a nice guy, but after what he said about me, it's a little bit tough. And he was having lunch or breakfast with Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, they're not sure that that was him. Even the expert there didn't say it was. But listen,
they didn't dispute that. They didn't dispute it.
Yesterday you said, I don't think anybody's denied it. Well, Cruz denied it.
I don't think they denied it. I didn't see them. Maybe they denied it later, but I haven't seen them deny it. Certainly they didn't deny it when it was first made. Here's the thing. They did a front page story in one of the magazines, and it was picked up by a lot of people. And I don't think anybody denied it. Now, they may have denied it recently. And all I did is say, well, what about that? I mean, I'd like somebody to explain that. Now, that doesn't mean there's not an explanation.
All right, but
I'm sure there is.
I guess, you know, they denied it at that press conference that you then talked about when he kind of, you know, had all the things to say about you.
I mean, they can deny it, but I mean, it is a picture. And I did say,
I know you've heard this.
What about that?
But, you know, you have a nominee now, presumptive nominee, who throws things against the wall and sees what sticks, citing reports. Maybe they're not backed up. Sometimes they're truth challenged, and as we've seen, you really don't pay any political price for that because you have a loyal following. But there's a concern that now as GOP nominee, in just a matter of weeks, you're going to be getting classified briefings by the CIA and FBI. And will your style be the same on the campaign trail, kind of throwing things against the wall?
Well, first of all, when I cite reports or when I cite, you know, major magazine articles or something, it's up to people to believe it or not to believe it. I'm not writing it myself. I'm not going out and doing the research. So I think that's, you know, a very acceptable thing to do. As far as briefings and all, I will do much better than Hillary Clinton ever did with her emails, where she exposed the entire country to whatever she's learning as Secretary of State. You don't get any worse than that. So I think that, frankly, yes, I can keep a secret probably better than almost anybody I know, maybe better than anybody I know.
On the email issue, you saw this story about a hacker speaking out, this Guccifer guy who apparently hacked into Hillary Clinton's emails. What do you think of that?
I think it's very serious. I mean, if it's true, it's very serious. Sounds true to me, but what do I know? I mean, they have to check. But it's not a question of him. It's what she did. And why did she do it? You know, Bernie Sanders said she's not qualified to be president. And then he said one of the reasons she's not qualified is she has bad judgment. She's got bad judgment. Who would do this with emails? That is a very serious problem. And Bernie Sanders made a very serious mistake when he passed on it. He took a pass. Now, perhaps he'll go back because he certainly doesn't like her. At least he doesn't like her anymore. And, you know, it's a crooked system. Like I say, crooked Hillary.
You've said you were going to reach out to Bernie supporters because you think you can get some of those voters.
I think I can.
Will you be reaching out to conservatives like you've announced you're reaching out to Bernie Sanders?
Well, I pretty much have conservatives, other than some people that want to get publicity for themselves. I mean, some of the people that want to get publicity that I've defeated, you know, I defeated them. And it wasn't a pretty picture, and maybe they're not used to being spoken to that way. But whatever it is, it worked. And that's what we have to have for a country. But most of these people are defeated people, and they've held a grudge.
Clearly, there are people in the Republican Party who are not on your side. You have to acknowledge that. Senator Ben Sass from Nebraska.
Who I never met. And he's trying
to get publicity. But you've had a Twitter back and forth a little bit.
Here's a guy, I watched him on television, know nothing about him. He knows nothing about him.
He's calling for an independent candidate to run for president.
Yeah, he's a real genius. So let's say you get somebody to run. That means the Republican can't win. Now you have 4 to 5 Supreme Court justices that will be picked by Hillary Clinton, or whoever it is, but probably Hillary. Bernie even worse. But because of a guy like Ben Sass, because if you do that, that would mean the Republicans can't win. If you put in, you know, if you do what he's suggesting. The worst thing that can happen, because I'm going to win, and I'm going to put wonderful, conservative, good, solid, brilliant judges.
And you're going to lay those out?
In the form of Scalia. I'm going to actually lay them out. I'm going to discuss people. I'm going to actually, I've met with a couple of Heritage and a couple of groups I think before the convention, I want to put up 10, 12, 15 names of the type of people that we'd like. I would like to do that.
And that would be from that list that you will choose?
Yeah, and I've suggested that. I don't know if it's been accepted, but from that list, I would choose. These are conservative judges, would be great judges.
You have now the last two Republican presidents saying they are not going to endorse you.
Well, I understand that, and I understand why they're not. The war in Iraq was perhaps the worst decision ever made in this country's history. It totally destabilized the Middle East. It was a total disaster. It was made by Bush. I took Jeb Bush on very hard. He was very nasty to me. He spent $15, $20 million on negative ads on me. Nobody mentions that. They just say I was very nasty to him. Well, I was. I came up with a low-energy individual, and he whether he is, I think he is. But it was a tough fight. He fought hard. I fought hard. He got out of the race.
So you think their decision has to do with Jeb Bush?
Of course it does. It does there, and I criticize his decision to go into Iraq.
Now, on that, I just want to clear that up. You've come up with articles, but there's audio of you before the war.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't. There's a
BuzzFeed piece
Let me just tell you, I'm talking to Howard Stern weeks before. First time anybody ever asked. Don't forget, I was a civilian. First time anyone ever asked me about the war, about should we go in, because it was a question, are we going in? And I said very weakly, well, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I guess.
And then on the first day of the war, you said that it's a tremendous military success.
No, what I said is it was a success because they thought it was a success. But before that, I said they shouldn't go in. And then for many years, I said this war is a huge mistake. In fact, in 2003, 2004, they did a big article in one of the magazines, and Reuters did an article where I'm very critical of the war. Get out, it's a mistake.
My point is that to you it's crystal clear in your mind. Are you going to hit Hillary Clinton on this issue?
She made a mistake when she voted for the war. She made a big mistake with Syria. She made a tremendous mistake. Look at Benghazi. She did the old ad where, who do you trust at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, you don't trust her because she was sleeping. All right? And there were plenty of calls coming in. She was sleeping. She took them from Blumenthal, but she didn't take them from the ambassador. NAFTA was signed by Bill Clinton. NAFTA has been a catastrophe, an absolute catastrophe for our country. They say I'm not conservative on trade. I believe in free trade. That's what they want. But we're getting ripped off on free trade because our leaders don't know what they're doing. In the case of Mexico, and I have nothing against Mexico. I have thousands of people that work for me from Mexico. They're fantastic. Hispanics. I think I'm going to do great with the Hispanic vote. I know
today's Cinco de Mayo. Would you any message to the Mexican Americans who celebrate today?
I have no message other than I have great respect for Mexico and their leaders. I'm not holding it against Mexico. I'm not holding it against China. I'm holding it against our leaders for making such horrendous deals. They're incompetent, or they're taken care of by groups. Don't forget, there's tremendous money that they pour into the super PACs and the campaigns.
Well, today you've just announced your national finance chairman.
Right.
And he's an investor, a former partner of Goldman Sachs.
Right.
There will be people who say, oh, he's buying into the big money.
He's raising money, and he's been a very successful guy, young guy, smart, very sharp, wants to do this, feels very committed, but he's raising money for the party. He's raising money for the Republican National Committee.
But you're going to take donations.
I'm going to take, what I'm doing is I'm going to be putting up a lot of my own money. He's raising money for the party, so he's really doing that as a joint venture with the party. But I'm going to be spending a lot of my own money. I'm going to keep it going. I don't know. So far I've spent probably $45 or $50 million by the time the primaries are over. And that's substantially less than what other people have spent, and they've been sitting home for 2 months.
That's true. A couple of policy things. I had a member of Parliament on the show recently pushing for Brexit, the Great Britain exit from the EU. Where do you stand on that?
I think the migration has been a horrible thing for Europe. A lot of that was pushed by the EU. I would say that they're better off without it, personally, but I'm not making that as a recommendation, just my feeling. I know Great Britain very well. I know the country very well. I have a lot of investments there. I would say that they're better off without it, but I want them to make their own decision.
Puerto Rico, there's a battle on Capitol Hill about restructuring its debt.
Right.
Concern about a possible bailout down the road if it's needed. Where are you on that?
I think you can restructure their debt without a bailout. I don't think you want to have a bailout, but I think you can restructure their debt without. I would be so helpful.
For Paul Ryan's plan about restructuring the debt situation?
I think you can restructure the debt without a bailout. You can restructure the debt. Bondholders are going to take a hit. Let the bondholders take a hit. Puerto Rico has too much debt. They have to get rid of debt. And when you restructure it, you're going to have to cut it. You're going to have to discount the debt. And if you don't discount the debt, it's just going to be a question of time before they come back and do it again.
Campaigning in Iowa, you said, quote, "I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me." You obviously all know a lot about leadership, but based on this, what's your assessment of the leader of ISIS? His strengths, weaknesses, you know?
Well, they've had numerous leaders, and we don't even really know who the leader is, Brett. You have different people in different areas. What does amaze me is that they have a leader and that we can't get him. I mean, it's unbelievable. But you have more than one leader of ISIS, and they're expanding and they're spreading, and now they've taken over the oil in Libya, which is really pure, great oil. That's among the best in the world. And they're sending it out on ships, and we're doing nothing to blockade it. And
so if we took out al-Baghdadi, would you say that decapitation would kill ISIS, or another leader would just pop out?
No, another leader would pop out. I think it's been proven. I mean, we've knocked out leaders all over the place, and somebody else comes up. Now, he may be a great leader, but it just seems to be every time we take out one of their leaders, you know, there's no difference.
And you have a plan?
I have a plan. You would have to hit them very hard. We have to knock ISIS out. We have an obligation to the world to knock them out. If Russia wants to help us, when they were dropping bombs on ISIS, and I heard different people like Lindsey Graham getting upset that Russia is getting involved. I said, why? Is it wrong that, I mean, whoever wants to get involved, we have to get them involved. But this is a threat. This is a threat that we have to get rid of.
About Russia, you were asked yesterday if you've ever spoken to Vladimir Putin, and you said, "I don't want to say."
Yeah, I have no comment on that. No comment. I was in Russia.
One of the things people like about you is to answer any question.
Because let's assume I did. Perhaps it was personal. Or, you know, I don't want to hurt his confidence. But I know Russia well. I had a major event in Russia 2 or 3 years ago, Miss Universe contest, which was a big, incredible event, an incredible success.
Okay, so we can say you talked to him.
No, I got to meet a lot of people. And you know what? They want to be friendly with the United States. Wouldn't it be nice if we actually got along with somebody?
Sure, but why do you think Russia is doing these
because they really dislike Obama. They really dislike Obama. They don't respect Obama, and they no longer respect our country.
Do you think on some issues you're going to come to the left of Hillary Clinton on foreign policy?
No, I think I'm much tougher than her in foreign policy, and I think we won't have to use it. I'll be honest. I hear that I may be to the left. I believe in very, very strong defense. I believe in world peace. I want to help other countries.
You are going from running in the primary to eventually running in the general election. Right. How many of your policy issues you've talked about on the trail do you think will evolve in that transition to a general election nominee?
Well, I think that what I will be really talking about a lot will be illegal immigration, but I think in order will be the economy, number one, and jobs, and good trade deals, because that's all to me part of the economy. I mean, the economy and trade deals are a part, because we're losing so many jobs because of our crazy trade deals, including NAFTA.
Congressman Chris Collins from New York endorsed you. He's a member of your congressional leadership team. He's against mass deportation of illegal immigrants. He's against a temporary ban on Muslims. He says that when you become the nominee, and then his idea when you become president, that you are going to be more nuanced than you are on the trail. What do you say to that?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, I have to see. Look, everything, honestly, is going to be up, and we have to negotiate. We have to see. I can't make these decisions myself. We have Congress.
So you're open to moving.
We have to deal with a lot of people. I mean, I can't just take executive orders like Obama. And somebody was saying my tax plan is very, very steep. I mean, I have the biggest tax plan. But, you know, I'm not the one that does the tax plan. It's me and lots of congressmen and lots of senators and lots of everything. So I would say that certain things will be changed, certain things will be stayed exactly the same. But, you know, there is a negotiation back and forth. I mean, I'm somebody that would like not to sign too many executive orders. That wasn't what our founders had in mind, sitting down and signing executive order. Chris Collins is a fantastic guy, by the way, a fantastic guy. But I'm very strong on illegal immigration, and that will never change. Now, that doesn't mean that in terms of implementation, we don't make a change. I think we have to build a wall. We have to stop the drugs from pouring in. It's the only way you're going to do it. But we have to do what I say we have to do. Now, with that understanding, there will be negotiation, Brett, because I'm not a dictator. I'm being elected president, hopefully, because I'm going to make America great again. But we're going to have to negotiate with lots of people, including Republicans.
You've been very clear on the stump that you oppose any reform of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Sure. Yet you told the Washington Post you would eliminate $20 trillion of U.S. national debt in 8 years.
No, I think what they really are referring to. I'm very good at understanding banking, debt, all of that. I'm one of the all-time professionals, okay? We can cut, we can discount, we can buy at discounts, we can see where interest rates are.
Without changing those three things.
We can discount debt. We can, for instance, we may refinance when interest rates are so low. A lot of people think we should refinance, take in some extra money, and redo the infrastructure of our country. You know, we've spent $4 trillion plus in the Middle East. We have to look at our numbers. We have to start looking. We owe $19 trillion. Soon it's going to be $21 trillion. We're going to have to do something about our debt.
Negotiating with Paul Ryan on his plan, right, that every Republican almost has voted on, is one of the things you're...
Well, I want to make our country rich again. I want to bring back our jobs. I want to make our economy soar. I want to do things that are going to make us so rich that we won't have to hurt Social Security. We won't have to hurt Medicare. We're going to make our country rich again. We're going to be able to afford it. I'm honored to be here, and I'm going to do a great job. And hopefully at the end, the people are going to say, including people that aren't loving me right now, they're going to say he did a great, great job as president.
The candidate casino is shut down, but you have all black chips from Charles Gradhammer and Steve Hayes and everybody else.
That's hard to believe. I think I'm going to take a picture. Can I take a picture of that? Make sure you send me of these guys with the all chips right down on the hundreds, right?
Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I also asked Mr. Trump if he'll release his tax returns. He said he would if he's not being audited, and pointed us again to these photos of him signing his tax forms stacked up. Many tax experts say either way he could still release them or a summary of them, but Trump told me he'll see what his attorneys say and will make a decision soon.